Hi, and welcome to another terribly fun films review. I'm your host, Bobby, and today we're looking at a movie, The Christmas Dragon, by a studio I have yet to discuss, which seems implausible to me. But, so be it. I'm talking about Arrowstorm Entertainment, who do high-minded, high-concept, very grounded fantasy, sci-fi, and occasionally horror films. Their biggest claim to fame is probably the Mythica series of films, which has an upcoming novelization for the first movie and a board game based on possibly all the adventures, but at the very least the very first film. That series is 5 movies deep, with at least one more on the way. They usually put their stuff up on Kickstarter. By the time they put it up on Kickstarter, their movies are done with principal photography, and the Kickstarter is solely to help make the visual effects and the post-production process better. So they have all this artwork and concept and actual clips from the movie they can show you so you can see what you're investing in. I have done so several times, up to and including today's movie, The Christmas Dragon. This is the special edition Kickstarter Blu-ray, which you could only get if you back them on Kickstarter at a certain level. The DVDs of lower amount, you know how Kickstarter works. Before we get any further, I would like to thank Jeffrey Long, formerly of the B Movie Shelf, and Kevin Balchalder. I'm butchering your last name, I bet, Kevin, and I'm sorry. Of the Saturday Morning B Movie Reel podcast for both turning me on to Arrowstorm Entertainment. Without either of them, I would not have gotten to know the studio or started watching their films or anything like that. So thank you there. Anyways, that's enough of the history lesson. Let's see if this is some festive fun or a giant lump of coal. The movie is directed by John Lyde, L-Y-D-E, so if I'm mispronouncing that, I'm very sorry. He's directed other Arrowstorm Entertainment movies, like the Kevin Sorbo starring sci-fi actioner Survivor. He also, last year, had the Dolph Lundgren starring film Riot come out. And here he does admirable, if very journeyman-like job. The film looks really good. The cinematography and the wide, epic shots really help sell the fantasy world that's been created here. And there are a few choice moments, especially after the hour mark, which is how long it takes for the titular Christmas Dragon to actually get into the story. It's not as bad as it sounds. There's a reason it takes that long, but still. But it is very kind of point, shoot, move on, with some exceptions. There's a really great sequence in the cave of an ogre that they have to fight, in which 2 of our characters are hiding behind a rock, and the ogre is coming down these giant stairs. And that's shot in a way where the camera's here, and kind of he's slowly pivoting around to showcase the size of the ogre nicely as it descends the stairs. That shot really works. Sadly, there aren't too many real stylistic flares like that throughout the film, though. That's not to say it's a bad directing job. Just, not rushed. Rush is thrown from just very point, shoot, make sure it looks good, move on, if that makes sense. Mr. Lyde is also responsible for the story concept behind the film. He did not write the screenplay, though. That honor goes to Shyla and David Adante. And they do a really good job. The writing here is very efficient and clean, and the characterizations and their motivations all serve each other very, very well. There are a few lines or moments that are a bit iffy. That doesn't quite work the way they really wanted it to. There are a few moments that are a bit too childish for me. Also, there's a moment where our main group of kids need to escape from a group of hunters, and they set up various traps along this river that they're by to, slow down the hunters and that sort of thing. One of those traps involves slicking up a tree and having the hunter fall and crack his nuts open. It's a nutshot joke. Did I laugh at it? Yes. But yeah, I think you get my point. There's nothing else like it in the movie aside from this one time it happens, so it feels weird and at odds with everything else going on. That's not to say it's necessarily bad, but it does sort of bring it down from family to more towards kids. It doesn't quite get to total kids territory, but it's, you know, a little downward slide. For the most part, though, the plot is very well thought out. There's some great twists and turns that I'm not going to ruin about why Father Christmas is dying and about how the orb works and why it was taken to begin with. That are not just heartbreaking, but very interesting, and it's a very cool use of how Santa Claus travels, how this all works, and of how he became a legend and visiting all these towns in one night and stuff. It works really well, as does, once the orb is gone, the evil that's seeping in, taking over the elves, that kind of thing. It feels like there are real consequences that'll happen if our main heroes don't succeed. Our main character, Aiden, doesn't have much of a growth. It's there in the film, but it's very small and happens without much in the way of fanfare. Early in the film, like the first sequence of the movie, her parents are killed in a dragon attack. This leaves her an orphan, so she's now in a home run by Sister Lenore and Father Mindell. And her overcoming her obvious dislike, distrust, possibly even hatred of dragons is about a 2-second sequence in which two of her friends tell her that they don't help this baby dragon, adorable though it may be, that it will die because these hunters, the ones I just talked about in the forest fight sequence, are going to get it. She stops, thinks about it for about 2 seconds, and then goes on to help it. That's it. That's it. Happily, the other characters do get better characterizations, but it's a little bit weird that the main character gets one that's so not impactful. It's not a strong way of doing that, and they feel the movie gets a little bit underserved for that reason. Which the character of Eric, who I don't want to ruin exactly who or what he is or anything like that, has a really great arc, and once you find out all of his reasonings for everything that happens, you really empathize and like him quite a bit. So that's some solid writing on his part. The character of Rosalind, though, another orphan who escapes because she doesn't want to be sold into slavery at the mines, is the most interesting character. She's kind of a high-strung, high-maintenance bitch, for lack of a better term. But throughout the course of the adventure, she actually becomes nicer, appreciates her other friends at the orphanage more, and her turnaround at the very end of the film is really well earned, really well done. So kudos there. As Aiden, Bailey Michelle Johnson does a pretty good job. She's not amazing. There are certain line deliveries, only 3 or 4 throughout the film, that sound a little flat. Doesn't sound quite as awe-inspiring as you'd think they should be, like when they first step into where Santa lives. Father Christmas, and they never say Santa Claus, so Father Christmas. When they first step into where Father Christmas lives, and she sees him for the first time, and she has proof that everything she believes in, everything her parents taught her to believe in, is true. She sounds a little bit bored, and that kind of sucks. It kind of takes away from the impact of that. But she's really good at interacting with the CGI creations, especially the titular Christmas dragon, who is adorable. Adorable. If they made a plush of this dragon, I would so buy it. It's so cute. Anyways. And she's really good in the action sequences, and she has a nice rapport with the other actors playing the orphans. So she does a mostly really good job, with just a few times where they don't quite get enough out of her, in my Playing the stuck-up Rosalind is Paris Warner, and I think she does excellently throughout the entire film. She plays her stubborn, stuck-up princess thing, even though she's an orphan at the orphanage, very well, and I think that comes off nicely. Playing the role of Eric is Jake Storman, who is also from the Mythica series, and I think his performance here is really good. Lots of little things that make him a little bit quirky and nuanced come to the foreground, which is a lot of fun. And I think he handles the character's arc and the reason and motivation for the character very well. Playing the kind of spunky, sprightly, 100% insane and totally awesome Finn is David DeVillers. Finn is a character who doesn't really fear much of anything and is confident everything will always work out his way because he's Finn and he has a slingshot. I really like this character. This character is a lot of fun. The actor delivers on that fun, even if the character is just kind of one note. It's fun the entire way through. As the twins Hoyt and Rand, Ruby Jones and Jacob Buster are very good. They look enough alike to be believable in that regard, and they are a lot of fun together. Their chemistry makes them very believable as siblings, and especially in the trap making sequence, even though it's juvenile as all get out, they bring a lot of spirited energy to it, and that's always welcome. As Serwyn, Melanie Stone, who anybody who knows Arrowstorm knows, she is in the Mythica films, is really damn good. She plays an elf this go around who hasn't turned evil yet, and she's kick-ass and awesome, as she always is. Her character's a supporting character, though. She doesn't come in until, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour in, and she kicks a lot of ass, though, so that's good. Her chemistry with Jake Stroman as Eric is really solid, and they make for a very believable and compelling couple, and that's always fun to watch. Johnson actually plays 3 roles in the film, Rocky and the Tavern Patron as well. The other 2 roles are minor, so I'm going to ignore them. He's a very jolly, very giving, very believable Christmas figure, while also being an utter badass. At the end, he's banishing some people for being wicked and cruel, and it's fairly believable that no one would want to mess with this guy. It's kind of awesome to see. So he brings a lot of weight and gravitas to it, even though Father Christmas is only awake for 5 or so minutes throughout the entire film. Everyone else I haven't mentioned from Renee Grimes and Danny James as Gizzard and Bombtail are 2 bounty hunters after Rosalind to get her back to the mines where she was sold to. Do a really good job. But if I went through everybody in the cast list in depth, we would be here all day. And I don't have that kind of time. I doubt you do too. So, the cinematography by Eric Thugbear. That is quite a name. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to call it Thugbear because that sounds more amusing to me. But in all seriousness, cinematography by him is outstanding. This film looks amazing. The colors pop at all times. And the contrast of where the evil hasn't encroached yet, and the northern border where it's consuming everything looks amazing. The night sky especially looks really good when they're flying on the dragon and whatnot. Awesome job there. The editing done by the same person, Eric Thugbear, I don't know, is also fairly good. There are times where it feels a little heavy, like just, I don't know if obvious is quite the right term, just like, not the most natural place for it, if that makes sense. But I would say most of the time it's really good, and especially in the action sequences, it keeps up a nice pace, so you're never that bored. The music by James Schaefer is really good. This is probably my favorite Arrowstorm score in any movie. I've seen probably 90% of their stuff so far. I haven't seen Zombie, is how I think you pronounce it. I haven't seen. They did some version of Pride and Prejudice. That off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called. But they did that, and they've done a few other films that I haven't watched yet. But I've definitely seen the majority of their output. And the score here is very light and fun, and I couldn't identify any one particular traditional Christmas carol or Christmas song or anything like that, but it sounds very festive. It sounds very magical. It sounds very hopeful. Like exactly like you'd imagine the holidays to sound. If that makes any sense at all. I hope it does. The costume design by Emily Jacobson is amazing. It looks fairly standard for most Arrowstorm Entertainment movies at this point, especially if you're watching the Mythica movies. But there are nice touches. There's a lot of rope used in this film for costumes and props and stuff that give it a very realistic, lived-in feel. Like these are actual clothing these people would have worn if they existed in real life type deal. And again, the coloring of the costumes really pops off the screen and makes them eye-catching. The production design and art design by Lauren Spalding and Kurt Knight, respectively, is also quite stellar. The village and the surrounding forest where a lot of this takes place is good looking. It feels believable. It's populated nicely. The world building throughout the film is excellent and very believable, which is good, because without that, I don't think this movie would work. If you didn't buy into Father Christmas existing and all the magic existing and being able to be corrupted and all that, this movie would just fall apart. Finally, we're going to talk about visual effects by Rob Fell, Matt Hoffman, and Kennedy Clark. And this is some really good work from Arrowstorm. The design of the dragons is very much like most dragons you'll ever see, but they get around that, if you will, by making it very well integrated into the sequences, and the human actors interact well with the CGI dragons as well, and the coloring on the various dragons. You only see like 2 or 3 throughout the entire runtime. The first one you see is black, white with some red on it, and it's monstrous. It looks like a demon from hell. It's meant to. It's this very vicious, evil dragon that fucks life up for everyone. It destroys people in the beginning, and it looks monstrous based on its coloring, and that works out well. The titular Christmas dragon is a sort of a turquoise, purple, blue type, glistening, glittery color with these big puppy dog eyes, and is so cute, so adorable. It's like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, kind of cute. I don't say that like at all. It's an adorable dragon. They did an excellent job there. The other special effects, being low budget, their fire effects are meh. But a lot of the fire effects in big budget theatrical films are meh as well, so I'm not really going to complain about that. They do some really cool stuff with time manipulation, and I think that looks really good and is smartly utilized. It does have a few flaws. The acting isn't always up to snuff entirely, and there are just moments that are totally too juvenile for everything else going on in the film, and some of the characterizations could use a rewrite or two. But with that being said, please I really hope I made it very clear how much fun the movie is overall. The story is very original and engaging. And it's a different kind of Christmas movie, which I don't know about you guys, but I get very sick of watching the same 5 movies being played on TBS and TNT all year long. Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life, one of several versions of A Christmas Carol, and The Bishop's Wife. Look, I know these are classics and considered great for a variety of reasons, but there are other Christmas movies out there to watch. There are other original, unique things to watch, and this is one of them. This is a great, fun, if flawed, family picture that everyone can get together and enjoy for the Christmas time. It does give you that festive, hopeful, joyous feeling that comes along with this time of the season, and that's important. Plus, it's just really cool to help out a small independent fantasy studio that's doing everything they can. Again, this was low budget, but I think they utilized that in a nice way, especially when it comes to creating the world and the way it looks and the costumes and all that jazz. And yeah, it is fun. It is really, the action keeps coming. There's several action scenes throughout the film. The dragon looks good. The way the magic works throughout the world is really enjoyable to hear about and learn about. So I think it's absolutely worth a watch, even though it does have a few minor flaws. Thank you for watching. As always, I've been your host, Bobby, and I'll see you next time.